Alright, so now on page 26, I want you to go ahead and divide up page 26. First, divide it in half, and you're going to have two columns. This is going to be examples, and then this half is going to be practice. So we'll check over these three tomorrow. So for this column, for each row, the top row over here, you need to write use a calculator. And go ahead and write down our first two problems, as well as the second row, which is solve for the missing side, and copy down those two triangles. And then lastly, we've got solve for the missing angle, and copy down these two triangles. Once you have all that copied down, then go ahead and watch through this video. So our first example is approximate secant of 38 degrees. So you're going to have to remember how to use your calculator for this. If you don't remember, look over in your foldable. And in your foldable, I show you how to find secant of 30. So secant of 38 should be pretty similar. You can do either of these things in your calculator. You can use the reciprocal key, or you can just do 1 divided by and use that reciprocal function. This is using the identity we learned a couple lessons ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type into my calculator secant of 38 degrees reciprocal key, and see what I get. Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, I've already messed up this video. This should say cosine because that's the reciprocal. And then I use the reciprocal key to turn into secant. When I type that in, I get 1.269. I'm going to round to the hundredths, so it should be 1.27. And so remember, this represents a ratio of the sides, one to the other. So that's the answer. So now go ahead and pause the video and try to do cosecant of 44 degrees. Now we're going to move on to finding a missing side again. So the first thing you do is identify the pieces that you are given. You're given an angle theta and the side length opposite it, and the hypotenuse is what you're looking for. So what involves opposite and hypotenuse? That would be sine. So I'm going to do sine of 23 degrees equals 16 over c. So here's another one of those tricky ones where we have to get c out of the denominator first by multiplying by c over 1 on both sides. And then we're going to divide by sine of 23. But I'll go ahead and write this out so it looks nice and neat. Remember, sine of 23 just represents a number. That's why we can divide by it. And so c is approximately, I'm just going to type this in my calculator, 16 divided by sine of 23. Make sure your calculator's in degrees, and I get 40.948. So when I round to the hundredth, I'll get 40.95. That's approximately the hypotenuse. All right, now we're on to our last problem. Solve for the missing angle. Again, just kind of analyze what are we given here. We're looking for our angle measure. We're given the opposite side and the hypotenuse. So again here we're going to be using sine. We're going to say sine of theta, our unknown, equals 5 over 13. So now how do we get theta by itself? If you look over in your foldable, what we just did was I showed you how to do the inverse function. And the inverse function will actually cancel out the original function. So we're going to do inverse sine of sine theta and inverse sine of 5 over 13. And these guys cancel out, and all that's left is theta. So then we approximate theta. We're going to type in second sine. That gives me the inverse sine. And then what was it? 5 over 13. and you should get 22.6. Since these are degrees, we're going to round that to 23 degrees. And that's it. So good luck. Go ahead and try these 3 practice problems, and then if you have any questions, make sure to ask me at the beginning of class tomorrow.